Hey, today we're going to talk about constraints. There is two types of constraints, dimensional constraints and geometric constraints. These constraints won't show up unless you're sketching something. So I'm going to click sketch and then choose a surface and then align my view cube to show that surface. So the dimensional constraints are created here by adding a dimension. You can add a dimension to control the distance, length, angle, or radius of an object. And these are your geometric constraints. These ones here are allowing you to control the relationship of one part with respect to another part or the axis. And if you hover over each of these, it'll give you a description of what they are. We're going to start by drawing a shape and then adding some dimensional constraints. So I'm going to click on the origin and I'm going to draw a shape here too. You can see as I draw it, see how it's black? That means it's been constrained in terms of its length and its relationship to the origin. So as I draw over, see now you can see it has a length of 2, it's black as well. And then I'll draw downwards, let's say this is 1, and then I'll connect it here. Alright. So you can see that if I, for example, were to delete this number right here, that this line would now turn blue because it can now be adjusted or moved right here and its size is not defined. So in order to turn this into a black line, we either have to give a dimensional constraint to this spot or we have to say its relationship in relation to something else. So what I can do is, this is pretty cool, is I can add a geometric constraint. So some geometric constraints are created automatically as you draw. You can see them as you hover over a line. You can see there's this little symbol right here that means it's vertical. Because you can see it's the same as this vertical constraints. That means it's locked in the vertical position. And that's what happened when I drew my line straight up and it had that like dotted orange thing. That's what made it lock vertical. You can see this one right here, this is horizontal. And it is perpendicular with this other line right here. As I hover over this line, you can see it's perpendicular with that one. This line currently has no constraints. If you want to view all the constraints on an object, you can click Show Constraints, and it'll show you, oh, this is an interesting one. This one is matching up with this picture. Coincident. That means that the two lines are sharing a point. That means that they touch, and that's important for creating a closed shape. That's why it's gray on the inside, because it's a closed shape. You can click Hide Constraints here so that you don't see all of them in case they get in your way. So let's say I want to make this into a square. There's two ways to do it. I can either click this horizontal button and I can lock it to be horizontal, or as I undo, I can click, for example, the perpendicular constraint, and I can make these two lines perpendicular. There's so many other things you can do with these constraints. You can make circles concentric and have the same center point. You make two lines parallel or tangent. Oh yeah, that's another good example. We can make two lines parallel. If I click these two lines here, it'll become a rectangle because they're now parallel. We can make two lines equal. So as I click these two lines, you can see it becomes a square because they're equal. So all of these are different things you can do and add to communicate more your intent about the drawing. So let's do an example. Let's draw a set of stairs. I'm going to highlight and then erase my previous drawing, although beautiful. Delete. Oh, it's trying to delete. And we're going to draw some lines. So here we go. I'm going to draw a line that goes up 25. This is going to get really big. I'm going to maybe roll my mouse out so I can see it. Okay. Then I'm going to go, this would be way easier with a mouse. I didn't think about that. Let me plug in my mouse. Ooh, we're back. Alright, so this line is 25. I'll draw this next line over. See how I'm touching? And you can see the little symbol that appears next to it. That's the coincident button, meaning those lines are touching. And as I click and draw, you can see it's giving me this horizontal symbol as I go. And as I move out from that locked position, it's no longer horizontal. So I'm drawing the line horizontal over 35. Then I'm going to go up 25. Then I'm going to go over 35. That's 2 stairs, last stair. Alright, then I'm going to go down. So when I'm going down, you can see that as I tap and move my mouse across right here, that you can see as I lock into the spot, it gives it a horizontal and vertical line right there, and you can see it becomes a length of 75, and it automatically fills in that button for me. And then I can close the shape. You can see that it is listed as black now, even though I don't have dimensions on these two spots. You can see that it knows that this distance is 105. And if I were to dimension it, the dimension would show up, but it would be light gray. And that's because it already knows this distance is 105 because we've said this, this, and this. And so these three together equal 105. Sometimes if you add an extra dimension, it can cause your drawing to have an error because it doesn't know what to do with this extra number because you've already said how long the line is supposed to be. So it's light gray to show you that it's already been defined. So I'm going to delete that so that we don't have to worry about that later. The last step is going to be to extrude this. I'm going to click the extrude button and I'm going to extrude, oh, that's not the view I wanted. I'm going to extrude this shape out a height of 50. Check. So here is my sample object right here. You guys are going to practice drawing a few other sample objects, and when you do so, you want to make sure that when you draw it, that it is fully constrained and that the lines are completely black. Once again, so to make the lines in your sketch black, you want to make sure that you've defined everything in relation to the origin, and you want to make sure that everything is appropriately dimensioned. You got this. Good luck.